Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Everybody, I'm Preacher Moss, host of the S.O.S, the Shout Out Show. I hope you're having a tremendous Thursday. You guys know what it is already. This is Throwback Thursday. We're going to get to our topic in a moment. I want to give a quick couple of shout outs. Number one, I want to give a shout out to an NBA player who's recently injured. 7'6" Sean Bradley used to play with the Sixers and the Dallas Mavericks. He was injured in a biking accident literally a block from his house, had a spinal cord injury, and he's paralyzed. So I don't know Sean, don't have to know Sean, but I know compassion. And when people are in pain, he was always a good guy in the NBA. You never heard a bad thing about him. So Sean Bradley, we hope you are feeling well. Peace and comfort and recovery from the Shout Out Show and the Shout Out Show family. That's number one. Number two is I want to give a shout out to my Asian brothers and sisters down in Georgia who are feeling some sort of way with the way things are going, but also around the country. The event of this shooting that happened this week, and it's not a sparse event. Jeremy Lin had an issue with somebody called him, I think they call him COVID or something like that. He's Filipino. So we have to look at that and understand, in a continuum that oppression moves around. So we want to make sure that we're there for our brothers and sisters so that we can be a support. Also, we can be protectors. All right. So let me get to some simple things about the Shout Out Show. If you're coming for the first time, and let me say this, we all praises due to Allah. It seems like, the crew is growing. We're getting more people coming on the show. I appreciate it. That means the word is getting out, but that also means that we have a steady group of people who come to the show. I always give you the Shout Out Show soldiers, the stars. But you know what? I'm finding more and more people do come check the show out. They don't necessarily come into the comment section. But if you're not going to come into the comment section, I'm not going to put any pressure on you. I'm not going to compel you to come into the comment section. I'm just simply going to say thank you, and we hope that we're giving you some good information. Now, let me begin with my Shout Out Show soldiers. This is our craft services show dietitian, Sister Ree, from around the corner. Sister Ree, we appreciate you. Yeah, I definitely appreciate you with the meals and things like that. And I just want everybody to know it's coming from a great place, fellowship, family, and I appreciate those meals. You don't have to do that. And you don't have to do that, but I appreciate that you do. And it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good. And I always say, with those food, each chew, we hope that Allah blesses you and keeps increasing you. Okay. And we have Sister Santiago here today. How you doing, sister? Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi barakatuh. We hope that you're feeling better today. I did give you a call. Was it a call or text? Hadn't heard from you in a while. I hope you're doing well and your recovery is moving along. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know how you're feeling. Let us know if you need anything. How about that? Shout out to my main man, Altaf Rashid, all the way from Toronto, doing big things in the big north, the Maple Leaf country. Man, good to see you on the show as always, and we appreciate your support. Man, you're decent, brother. You come on, Muslims have a thing about being late. Boy, you come on like NOI in 1960. That's how punctual you are. All right, so let me keep it moving. And my little brother who I was talking to earlier today, giving me good conversation and feedback on the project I'm working on. JT, better known as Johnny Lee Thomas. Brother, we appreciate you coming on the show. And I hope that somehow doing well with this show allows me to catch up with you because you're a dynamite brother, dynamic brother. So I'm just trying to keep up with you these days. While like the old folks say, while I'm still on this side of the dirt, I'm just trying to keep up with JT. So, brothers and sisters, I want to get to the topic today. And I thought about it. The topic today for Throwback Thursday is crypto things and people who made you think differently. I say crypto things and people who made you think differently. Oh, and Sister Santiago is signing off. When you going to get back from Tennessee, get back to Texas? But I guess you're enjoying it. And we also want to give a shout out to Sister Ika. She's not here today. We're going to give her a shout out anyway. Hope she's doing well and her family's doing well. Let me get to the topic because I got some calls from the crypto show. I got some emails, Facebook Messenger. I talked to the brother Idris, who was in class with me at Bayon Claremont. And we talked about this crypto thing. And I thought it'd be a good topic. Not just for what's going on with crypto, but I really, really like the idea, because we hear all kinds of ideas. We frame ourselves as creatives. But one thing about a creative is when we don't get it the first time. Like I didn't get cryptocurrency the first time. Like if you told me you were gonna make money, I would tell you, you know what? I'm going to put some money on your books and make sure you're okay. Oh, wait a minute. Can we put my man Ty Grail up? Walaikum assalam rahmatullah barakatuh, big brother. Man, welcome to the show, brother. Welcome to the show. Ty Gray is a good friend of mine and a good friend of my mentor, Reginald Kenshin. May Allah be pleased with him, uh, who returned back to Allah last year. Ty Gray, man, it's good to see you, brother. And we got to stay in touch. No need for us not to stay in touch. Brother Reginald put us in contact with one another. And I feel like it was for a blessed reason, and it's good to see you on the show, man. Appreciate you supporting us, man. Flipping through. I mean that. Sister San Diego says she is not coming back to Texas. She is staying. Okay. I'll be looking out. I'll be looking out. I know it's gonna be some news out of Tennessee. But the topic though, crypto things and people who made you think differently. Let me say it again. Crypto things and people who made different. The thing about crypto that made me think differently, it was the fact that the people who came up with the concept of crypto really thought years in advance. And what they did was they put a community around money, not money around a community. Can I say that in? They could put a community around money, not money around a community. And they moved away from this whole idea of fiat currency. A lot of people don't remember when we were on the gold standard. The United States was on the gold standard. And they switched from the gold standard where you had to have, coins to move and purchase things. And they moved us to paper money. And the paper really didn't have any value other than what the government told us was. So, here's a piece of paper, it's worth $10. Here's a piece of paper, it's worth $20, and so on and so on and so on. And it allowed you to buy goods. But what were you really buying? What were you really buying? If I came up with currency, a Preacher Mars dollar bill or Preacher Mars $100 bill, and I said, and to anyone here on the show, Ty, Christy, Althoff, I said, listen, I like your house. I'm going to give you $1 million Preacher Mars dollars. And you go, okay. And I get your house. And then you take those dollars and you realize that it's not worth anything in that situation or anywhere else. That's sort of what the dollar did. That's sort of what paper money is for us. The government, when they get in trouble, what can they do? They can print more money. But crypto was interesting because crypto, and just so you guys know, and this is from a conversation I had with my good friend Nuri, who's like a crypto specialist. Even if you didn't have crypto, if you tried to come up with a different type of currency, you are liable in the United States. You are liable to be arrested. You are breaking the law. And the thing about cryptocurrency is, the United States couldn't stomp it out because it's in blockchains. It's in digital wallets. And you don't know what these wallets are. They're kept on people's computers and their phones now. And so you couldn't shut it down without basically shutting down all the internet. That's the only way you win against crypto. But if you do that, this whole country will slide off the edge of existence. So that's a whole nother story. But the thing about crypto is, and I love this because I saw two men on a show called The Breakfast Club with a guy named Charlemagne the God. And these guys were talking about money. And they were saying, his guy said, my philosophy is if I work hard for this money, then I want my money to work hard for you. If I work hard for this money, I want my money to work hard for me. That's what he said. If I work hard for $1, I want the dollar to work hard for me. It's interesting because crypto has set themselves up, for lack of a better word, through scarcity. Through scarcity, this coin has been able to blow up. I think the last time I checked, it was over $60,000 of Bitcoin. Keep in mind, 2007, 2008, they couldn't give these coins away. But the valuable lesson, if you will, the viable lesson and the viable lesson in this whole thing is the fact that you now have emphasis and inspiration to reframe value, to literally reframe value. Now, we talked about this for I don't know how many shows on the Shout Out Show. the idea how you conceptualize and frame value, the idea about how you do forecasting and things like that. And all those things are valuable, but we now have a physical representation that you can build a market. You can literally, you can't build another Bitcoin, but you can actually build a coin in this blockchain, in this digital wallet, and create meaning for it. Hear me now. Create meaning for it. Give it a pathway where people can purchase things, and that coin becomes valid currency. Now I'm saying this to all my people, my black people, my Latino people, my white people that don't have no money. I'm gonna tell y'all something. We have to get out of this situation where we dictated what money is supposed to mean for us. You know, it starts with the whole tax bracket thing. You know, they have tax brackets so that if you make a certain amount of money, they are sure to take a certain amount of money. Why? You think it's to fuel services in the United States? No, literally, it's to make sure that you have to make a particular jump from one tax bracket to the next tax bracket, the leap, if you will. And the leap has consequences. You know that. The more you make, the more they take. That's pretty simple. But this cryptocurrency thing, and in my discussion, the idea of NFTs or non-fungible tokens is a very, very, very delicate and intricate but exciting idea about how we democratize our self-expression, how we democratize our art, how we democratize entertainment. So I'm not doing just for me. I mean, there are other entertainers, you know, musicians and digital artists, but out of our community, nobody's come. And inshallah, I'm gonna be the one to try and lead the pathway through, and I'm gonna take as many of us as I can. This is not 2003, 2004, where Allah made me funny, where there's no social media, there's no Facebook, there's no Twitter. We didn't have that. I mean, we were still sending out flyers on not on email, brothers, just but by fax. Technology dedicates right now. And believe me, I'm not a big tech guy, but I can see the big picture. So crypto had me thinking differently. Things. And you could jump in here. What are some of the things that made you think differently? I talked about one of the things that made me think differently about society yesterday, and that was critical race theory. Critical race theory came to me when I was I was a beginning teacher in California, and we were talking about laws, if you will, laws that affected young men, predominantly young Black and Latino men, in terms of their educational options, their educational opportunities, and the ability of parents to increase their wherewithal about the overall education system. And we found laws that were extremely restrictive, but they were still laws. As teachers, we were still kind of hamstrung with this idea of how do we help our students, knowing that we can't get around the law. Literally, in my teaching experience, I was said to have broken a teacher law, if you will, because I educated the kids out of a particular curriculum. They wanted to teach the kids to the test. I wanted to teach these kids to basic skills and meaningful task assessment, and also, you know, entrepreneurship. I wanted to teach the kids entrepreneurship. I got shut down. I got suspended. And the reason I did because I failed to understand the extent of these laws. Let me say it again. I didn't fail to understand the laws, the extent of these laws. There are several laws on the books that literally, if you look at them and interpret them a certain way, they've literally said that almost Black, Latino, and poor students should not be in a situation in front of the line to receive services. Why? Because they demonstrate through low scores that they're not qualified for the services and the resources, and ironically, the teachers. Think about that one. So I want to get to people who made me think different. Now, there's a lot of people who made me think differently, you know, and these are icons. So if you have some people that made you think differently, I want you to put them in the comments section. You know, like my mom and dad, they made me think differently, of course, you know. And I would say if you have somebody who made you think differently, it's not in your family, that's even a little bit better, because that person has to work a little bit harder. There's a person who made me, Ty says deliberate miseducation. That's a thing. Oh, boy, Ty, you come out swinging, brother. I appreciate it. You know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about teaching. Todd said deliberate miseducation. Yes. And here's the deal, brothers and sisters, and this may be hard to fathom, but in the education system I was involved with in California, I was complicit with deliberately misrepresenting educational opportunities to children. I was a part of a system, and I woke up in the system and said, what am I doing? I'm these students' worst advocate, if you will. I'm their worst enemy. And then the conundrum is, I'm the best they have. This is the best they're going to get to meaningful education. And of course, when you buck, two things: people going to get upset, and people going to tell. And both of it happened to me. But I'm not the only person. Man, I, I take my steps, and I want to be careful how I would say this. I take my marching orders from a lot of people. Of course, I take my marching orders from Imam W. Muhammad. I take my marching orders from Honorable Elijah Muhammad, um, Marcus Garvey, my parents, uncle's family. Um, I take marching orders from X. I take marching orders from Martin Luther King. So I'm saying these iconic roles have been established for me. But there's one role, one person who really, really affected me when I was young. In history, a lot of times when you have Black History Month, we go for the big people, the big people, the Martin Luther Kings and da da da. But there was a guy before Martin Luther King, and I still to this day marvel about his bravery. He was the guy before Martin Luther King came to that little church in Montgomery, Alabama. He was a minister named Dr. Vernon Johns. People don't really understand Dr. Vernon Johns. If you don't understand him, please look him up. He was the civil rights era, the NAACP, before there was a civil rights era in the NAACP. His only battle tool, his weapon was Bible and a supreme intellect and insightfulness to take that Bible and make it applicable to the situations around him. Now, of course, not everybody liked Dr. Vernon Johns. I mean, it's a pure fact. He could never stay at a church for more than 1 year because people would chase him out. Because at some point in time, he would give them that protest religion. He would give them that revolution song. And a lot of times back then, people weren't ready. I'm not saying they weren't scared. I'm not saying they're scared. I'm saying they weren't ready. And what I mean by that is sometimes there's a passage in the Quran, a surah in the Quran called Surah Asr. And it says, by the token of time through the age, true man is in loss, except such a faith, perform righteous deeds, join together, mutual teaching, truth, patience, and constancy. I heard an interpretation of that. And what was being said about that surah, if you will, was the fact that at some time in our life, we've all had what we think is a great idea. We've had a great belief. We had great conviction about something. But what that surah says, it might have been great conviction, concept, idea, movement, but it may have just been you at the time that recognized it. The patience is waiting for other people to recognize what you're talking about. And Dr. Vernon Johns never had that. I think time, situation, racism did not allow for him to stay in one place. And in some regards, I admire the fruit produced the fruit that was planted, the seeds. He didn't get to sit around and watch the fruit come in, the harvest, if you will. And one of the harvests was Dr. Martin Luther King. And I'm saying this because where are we now? Like, where are we now? Now, who are the people now that make you think differently? Now, this may be blasphemous, but I'm going to tell you something. Donald Trump helped me think differently. He made me think differently. Because for better or worse, he showed me the America that's been waiting to jump out. They just needed the opportunity. And we talk about insurrection at the Capitol. That insurrection at the Capitol is small. Don't get excited and intoxicated by it. You know, and I'm saying this because there's a lot more of that. The marvel is not that the people who got caught, of course they got caught. It's the amount of people who didn't get caught that can still maintain those conversations, that can still have those meetings. So you still have a QAnon. You still, and the interesting part is they will become mainstream. And I give Trump credit. I'm going to give you Trump credit. I don't know if you listen, Donald. I don't really care, but I'm going to give you a little credit. You were raggedy and ratchet when you came in. Raggedy and ratchet. But you told everybody. You showed them that you were raggedy and ratchet. I believed you. I believed you were raggedy and ratchet. I believed you were a low down stank, low down horn dog. I thought you were the worst person in the world. But I give you a little respect because you were the same way. I met Donald Trump in New York City at a show called Fox News Dayside. Walked up and said hello to the man. He barely said a word. We gave him All That Made Me Funny DVD. I thought he was going to throw it on the floor. And before I could really get into my feelings, I'm like, but that's the dude I heard. That's the dude I've been hearing about, and now I saw it. And then I saw him become president. And I said, if the world doesn't understand that this is who he is, and you're making prayers that you think that this character is going to change, especially when he gets power, you're delusional. So I say, hey, man, thank you so much. Now, I'm going to say this about society and perception. One of the people who made me really, really, really think differently, and I said it before, his name is Harry Weber. Now, if you don't know about Harry Weber, you should look him up. Harry Weber was the first, let me say it, the first artistic director of Motown. He got the job on the recommendation of the Four Tops at a show at the Howard Theater. They pitched him to Berry Gordy. He got the job when he was 19 years old. And he stayed in that job for a while. Terms like King of Pop about Michael Jackson, he came up with that term. He had great campaigns, brothers and sisters. He was an advertising person. He had great campaigns. I'm stuck on Band-Aids because Band-Aids stuck on me. My baloney has a first name. At Ford, quality is job one. He had all these things. Of course, the biggest one is the United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. And I asked him about all those campaigns. And I said, why was the United Negro College Fund so important? He said, I'm going to tell you why. He said, because at that point in time, people did not think that black folk could think. I was stunned. He said, people didn't know that black folk can think. And what Harry Weber showed me was several things. One, society. Society for people who are creative, society for people who work hard is a difficult society because you are working against people who steal creativity and they don't want to work hard. They want you to work hard. And in that space, they don't want you to be creative. They don't want you to be independent. When I met Brother Weber, I was on a mission. I was on this highfalutin idea that Muslims had a bad image in the media, and I tracked him down. I found out he was a real person, and he always tells a story about Berry Gordy, and Berry Gordy says, "Oh, what's that quote? Oh, thank you, Ty. You should be ashamed to die until you've made some contribution to mankind." Yes, thank you, brother. Harry Weber said something about black folks. He said, I love black folks. He said, the problem is we're great at making moves, horrible at making decisions. He said, great at making moves, horrible at making decisions. When I later talked to him about that, he expanded it. He said people who don't have power or don't believe they have power are horrible at making moves. They're good at making moves, horrible at making decisions. And he showed me positioning that we don't have to think drastically, radically, but we have to be able to turn something and frame something that's very minute, that's a finite idea to make it work. Like a cog in a big machine. Sometimes the cog works, but you got to pull it out just a little bit so it fits clearly in the grind, in the teeth, if you will. And I'll give you a prime example of what I'm talking about. And this will tie in the thing about crypto and all that type of stuff. And you understand crypto a little bit better too. I told him I wanted to do something to improve the image of Muslims in America. And he looked at me. We were at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles on Sunset and Gower. And I said, I want to do something to improve the image of Muslims in America. And he was eating waffles and chicken. And he looked up at me and goes, you can't. And then he went back to eating. Now, number one, I'm in my feelings. Number one, because he told me I can't. And then number two, I'm paying for the chicken and waffles. And I said, why not? He said, because you're young, you don't know anything. I said, sir, I've been a Muslim X amount of years. He said, I don't want to hear that. He said, you don't know what I'm talking about. I said, what is it? And the first thing he said was, before you change the image of Muslims, let me ask you a question. He said, do you know how much money went into Muslims having that image? He said, do you know how much money how much money has gone into Muslims having that image, that negative image? And then he said, how much money do Muslims put into their own image? How much money do we put into our own image? He said, let me help you out. He said, Pepsi Cola probably puts in $500,000 a quarter just into marketing and advertising. He said, how much money do Muslims put in? And I sat here with a big stupid look on my face, like, oh no. He said, exactly. He said, let me help you out. He said, I want you to write for me a top line for a press release you would give. And I took my pen and he gave me a piece of paper with some grease on it. And I started writing, and this is what I wrote. Muslim comedian sets out to change image of Muslims in America. That's what I said. Muslim comedian sets out to change image of Muslims in America. And I gave it to him, and he said, that's BS. He said, I just told you you didn't know what you're talking about. I said, huh? He said, you don't know what you're talking about. And then he wiped his face and moved his chicken over to the side. And he took the same greasy paper bag and he wrote and he scratched and he wrote and he scratched. He goes, let me help you. And he gave it back to me. He said, now read it out aloud. And it didn't say, Muslim comedian sets out to change image of Muslims in America. You know what it said? It said, Muslim comedian sets out to raise $100 million to change the image of Muslims in America. Muslim comedian sets out to raise $100 million to change the image of Muslims in America. And I was stupefied. He said, because if you're not going to have a threat behind it, people ain't going to listen. He said, this idea of $100 million, he said, you may never find a person to write you $100 million check. He said, but you frame the conversation for a lot of would-be people to understand you can't get into this conversation because you don't have $100 million. And the people that hate you sit up, they hate you more. Why? Because they respect money. They respect money. They respect the trail of money. And if they want to say something to you, you can say, shut up. You ain't got $100 million. Sit down with your $1 million self. And he said, Preacher Moss, he said, you clear the suckers out. He said, you made your job a little bit easier because people know I really want to do something, but I ain't got $100 million. That's one group of people. Then there's another group of people who go, he might mess around and get that $100 million. And then there's another group of people who go, I hope he gets the $100 million. You know, when we talk about cryptocurrency and things like that, it's perception that drives the value. Everybody who's late to the crypto market, they want crypto, 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 crypto. They're going to buy anything they can. Da, 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 da. And Harry Weber, and I'm going to give him some credit, and I'm going to wrap up. But Harry Weber talked to me about an idea he had years ago, a clothing company called Crisis in Capitalism, CIC or SIC for short. I told you he's a marketing guy. And the idea was to take sayings and quotes about the economy and money and put them on clothing. So instead of you spending your money on clothes, you're going to spend your money on clothes that talks about money, free market system, all of that. And he had an idea, because everybody's thinking, I'm going to sell as many as I can. Nope. He said, no, Preacher Moss. He said, I would like to raise some money, and I want to print 1,500 of these shirts. And they have all of these different designs. He said, but here's the killer part. We're only printing 1,500. He said, in the corner, we're going to put a patch that has a number on it that tells you what number of succession, 1 of 1,500, 2 of 1,500, 3 of 1,500. He was saying this way back when. And now we're seeing it with crypto. Brother Yusuf is asking, do you feel there's a space for NFT crypto art that is Sharia compliant? Yes. One of the things I've come to understand, Brother Yusuf, is creating value is, to me, halal as long as you don't mislead people. Let me say it again. Creating value is halal as long as you don't mislead people. Like, I could tell everybody that there's going to be a sale next week and I'm giving away shoes that normally are $100, but anybody comes can get them for $5. And then you get there and I lie and I say, well, bought a $5 shoes, but we still got $200 shoes. That's misleading. And let me say this. We need to be willing to democratize how we generate revenue in our community, number one, and two, how we keep revenue in our community. Because what's being lost is the fact that the Bitcoin community is a community. All the other Bitcoin communities, they are communities. They are vibrant revenue communities. And when you build a coin, you are building a community around the coin, and that's how it has value. And I think we can't overlook that. There's probably a lot of hadith about the virtual world. In some regards, like the virtual world is like the spiritual world. There are parameters in how we express ourselves. And as believers, we engage in those parameters. But we know when it's not right. We know when it's not correct. Like I said, when a phony is a phony. You know when somebody's misleading you. But even in the spiritual world, it's not a relevant spiritual world if we can't show people value. So, I feel free to do that for you, Brother Yusuf. Hit me on Facebook and we'll talk about it. I got to wrap up. But before we go, talking about value, brothers and sisters, I want you to check out BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. If you don't want to go to the website, you can go old school, 1-800-679-3175. Again, that's 1-800-679-3175. On the other end of that phone, you're going to talk to Ms. Maxine BK, former attorney. She is an expert in terms of stocks and things like that, and where you put yourself in a situation where you put your money in a situation where your money works for you. You work hard for your money, make your money work for you. Okay, I normally talk about her being the Harriet Tubman of financial advising. Yes, she is that, but this is a different thing. This is the era, brothers and sisters, where we have to be very diligent in making sure our money works for us. Think about it. I said it before. This is a paradigm shift. Many of us have grown up, and our parents have grown up, and our parents' parents have grown up, and our parents' parents have grown up, being told the cost of something, but not the value. The cost of something, but not the value. See, the cost of a big steak, if you go and get the meat from the butcher, the cost of that steak might be $2. But if you get to the other side of the funnel and you're at this real fancy restaurant, they give you some little potatoes and sauce, the cost of that steak is now $30. It's the cost. It's not the value. The value of the steak, that cut of meat, was still $2. But when it goes to a narrative, hear me now, when it goes to a narrative, and that's what you pay for, when it goes to a narrative, it's now worth $30. Why can't we be at the front of the line for value and then be at the other side of the line for value and let other people pay for our narratives about the things we own? In terms of NFT, what about the narrative around this NFT, this digital asset? Why can't we, brothers and sisters, do the same? I'll give you a prime example and I'm going to go. I bought a pair of shoes several years ago. They were really nice shoes. I thought I was overpaying for them, but they looked real nice. Had never seen them before. They were Nike Air Force Ones, black on black with metallic silver. Let me say it again. Air Force Ones, black on black, metallic silver. So the heel was silver. The back part of the heel was silver. And I held on to those shoes for a couple years. All in all, I paid $90 for those shoes. $90. I've never worn them before. They're still in the box. Just messing around one day, I said, I wonder what these shoes are worth. They're rare. That's a narrative. They're rare. So the $90 pair of shoes I wore, I didn't wear, I bought, and I left in the box for a couple of years. That same pair of shoes is not worth $90 anymore. They're worth $440. Why? Because the market drives narrative, and narrative drives value. I'm Preacher Moss. This is the Shout Out Show. God bless you. Hope everybody's having a great day. We'll be back tomorrow with Friday Funnies. I appreciate your patience. Big Ty, good seeing you, brother. Miss you, guy. Sylvia Traymore, we had her on the show. I know you know Sylvia, but good to see you, man. And we have to catch up, brother. I miss you. And Brother Yusuf, we'll be catching up. I don't know. Can we show brother Yusuf's art? Okay. Oh, you got it on Open Seas. Okay. All right. So let's talk. You got it on Open Seas. Let's talk and let's strategize, Brother Yusuf. All right. I know you have my Facebook spot. We can talk about it on Clubhouse because I'm thinking about a movement, an entire movement out of our community to really make this thing pop. Okay. Sultana, you can take us out. Appreciate you, everybody. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Preacher Moss. This is the Shout Out Show. Hey, everybody, this is your brother, Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you enjoyed your Shout Out Show experience. We'll be back with the next show, the next Shout Out Show. A simple ask before you go, please help your brother out. Click that subscribe button, click that notify button, and I'll see you again on this side of the microphone. You probably wonder what that smell is. That's me. I smell good. And the reason I smell good is because I use oils from Tarifa. So I'm not saying you can't smell good. I'm not even saying you stink. I'm saying you have the opportunity to smell exquisite. Check out tarifatar.com for some of the best oils and scents in town.